Very important lessons. First one, ignore anything that comes out of my mouth, including that. Ignore that too. Hi, I am Keith back in the LAIKA model shop, and we're going old school. We are going to talk about the Coraline tunnel. And this thing has, I dug around a little bit. There's a bunch of information online. No one has accurately figured this out. So we're going to talk about actually how we made this during the movie. We're going to go through some tools, and actually we're going to make something to complete this tunnel. My memory of this is, it's been a while, it's a little fuzzy, but I know that there was a development phase with this. People were trying different materials. Nothing was quite working. And ultimately, an art director, I believe, came up with a technique that we're going to replicate today. And that involved using a hot glue spider web gun, which is typically used in like haunted house, Halloween town sorts of environments. And I want to just show, like, a lot of these things are very similar. There's clearly like a compressed air component that has a very simple, like, off-on, runs up through a brass tube and dumps, the hot glue will dump out into the airstream, and you just kind of apply a really, really long, thin web. During Coraline, the crew actually made one, and that's what we're going to do today using a low dollar, just really cheap, generic, I mean, this cord is, this thing could not have been more than 10 bucks. So we're gonna go through modifying this and get this working today on the video. And then we're gonna step through the entire web making process. We're gonna start with whatever you have laying around your house and a few extra supplies. Okay, so we're gonna need just a couple of things. You'll notice, like, most of these guns have a way to hook up to compress air. You're gonna need an air compressor. Sorry, forgot to mention that. It doesn't have to be a huge, massive thing. Nothing super expensive, nothing high pressure, just a standard air compressor. And this is gonna help us regulate and control the airflow. So it's sort of like a cheapy regulator. And we're ultimately going to plumb a copper line out of this that's gonna help us deliver the glue. So the handful of objects that we're gonna need. Copper pipe right here. Just like water line, the little regulator valve, and you need the compression fitting and the matching threaded compression nut that goes to whatever this turns into, whatever regulator you can get your hands on. We're just plumbing in line. So the copper pipe will go completely through. This compression fitting is going to actually compress a little bit on the pipe, making it airtight. So it's important that this passes all the way through. Press that all the way down in. And I got it. Just compress this down. We'll get this fairly tight, and then we will check this in a minute with the air, the compressed air. And if it's leaking, we'll tighten that up a little bit more. But for now, I'm just gonna go as tight as this can go by hand. All right, let's go with that for now. The next step, we're gonna zip tie this to the hot glue gun. You know, if you want to spend a little bit more time, by all means, mount something a little bit more stable. You could make this as clean or as janky as you want. I'm just loosely bending this to form fit along the handle. Most of this is just for comfort. The only important thing really is the shape of the nozzle and the location of this brass pipe where it terminates towards the end of the hot glue gun. What I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna assume we will zip tie this down, but first I need to cut this. And I am falling back on my jewelry training. Best tool in the model shop, in my opinion, is a jeweler's saw frame. So I use it for everything, not just metal. It's like wood, plastic. The thing is just, it is just fantastic. So I'm gonna cut this a little long. We may need to adjust it. We'll do that later. So I'm just gonna go right now, just score that. I'm not going to drag a bench pin over here. I'm just going to cut this off the edge of the table. So bear with me 1 second. I'll just cut this off. There we go. I'm just cleaning up the end of this, just any sharp, jagged edges. And then we're clearly leaving this a little bit long for now, and we're gonna fine tune the shape. I'm just trying to get the nozzle sort of coming out approximately where the hot glue is going to drip. So we may have to come back and mess with this, but for now, let's start right there. And I'm gonna just loosely attach a couple of zip ties. Okay, so nozzle is loosely situated at a point where the glue drop coming out of the tip of the nozzle, it will catch the airflow. I'm gonna turn this hot glue gun on, we're gonna warm it up, and we're gonna try this out. The next phase of this, we need to talk about some metal. One of the things that you can see in the tunnel, both directions, are these corrugated ridges, or whatever you want to call them. And that is going to be actually a metal spiral that we're going to create. And we're going to do this really loose. The size of this can be left up to you. And for example, you can use whatever you have laying around the house as a form. You could use a 5-gallon bucket and just wrap the wire around it. So we might do that, or if, for example, you don't have a 5-gallon bucket, you probably have some sort of kitchen pot. And so we could use this just as a quick and dirty form. It's about the size. Let's use this pot. We're gonna use this, we're gonna loosely wrap the wire around it, and then we're going to spread this out on just sort of a rig so that we can start to lay down the spider web on this part. So the original Coraline tunnel, we used armature wire. This is just, this is roughly 60 thou aluminum wire. Common, nothing fancy about it. The strength isn't really important. It's bending around a fairly large circumference of the, so it doesn't matter, whatever you have. I'm just going to loosely sort of spiral this around. Now the length, this depends on how long you're making the tunnel. I'm just going to do a little short 4-foot one, so it's not like a tremendous amount of wire. I don't know, let's just say a dozen turns around the pot, roughly, more or less. Let's say that is good for the first one. We're going to do this twice. I'll explain a little bit more as we start to assemble it and why that kind of is very helpful. We need to set up just a really cheap little support to sort of trail this wire out and float this above our work surface right now. So you're gonna just cobble together some sort of a brace or a support, and you could do something as simple as just a 2x4, whatever wood you have laying around the studio or your shop. And let's see, what do I have? I have a cardboard tube. So in this case, I'm just gonna basically hold one end of the cardboard tube. This will make a little more sense in a second, so bear with me. But this exists solely to support this wire, and we're gonna do a little bit of work on this now. But basically, we just need something that we can spread this wire out on this cardboard tube as we start to lay down the hot glue. So, you know, do whatever you have to do. This is why I wanted you to make 2 of these. We're gonna slightly overlap these. It's almost like creating a DNA trail. So we want some wires to basically travel back across each other, and we're gonna just kind of slightly secure them together with whatever tape you have. The hot glue will start to mount everything and secure it together. So this is just temporary. So don't excessively tape it to this cardboard tube, because we're gonna be removing it at a certain point, and you don't want all of this wire very securely attached to this tube. It's just temporary and just to hold stuff in place. Give me a sec, I'm gonna tape all this down, just kind of lightly secure it. Okay, let's start here. We can always adjust. A lot of this will get encapsulated by the hot glue. So this looks a little bit janky right now, but trust me, it's going to lock together in a really interesting way. I think that's it. I think we should, let's see, the hot glue gun is warm, and you also will burn through a lot of hot glue. So make sure, have some glue sticks close by. And I think, yep, this is hot enough. All right, moment of truth. Let me just plug this in. Let's see what happens. Somewhere around 60 PSI, I believe. But this is totally, we're gonna have to play with this. So believe me, it's, you're gonna be adjusting the air pressure to get this dialed in. And also what I'm doing, I'm trying to drip the glue down towards the nozzle. So this will make more sense. As soon as you start, you can actually see the little thread of hot glue travel out. And so if you have to turn the gun sideways, you do whatever you can to basically get the drip of glue to pass over the end of the tube. So your goal is just to slowly feed the glue towards this air. And believe me, this looks a little rough right now. You just build this up. You just go back and forth, build up layer upon layer of hot glue. You can see I've got this like big, you know, dried hot glue goober. So this is something we might want to, hold on, I'm gonna turn this off. My tube, if you noticed, has traveled out past the end of the hot glue gun. So this is something that we want to try to adjust and bring the air nozzle behind the hot glue. And clearly my zip ties loosened up. So, you know, let's start somewhere like that. Let's try this again. You can see the thread. You're just trying to continually keep a solid stream of really thin hot glue going onto your spiral of wire. You may notice that I'm like shooting through in some areas. It goes all the way. Don't worry about it. We're going to slowly build up. We can adjust all of that later. You're creating a structure, really, is what this boils down to. So lots of overlapping passes. So the idea behind this is that you're creating a fabric with the strands of hot glue. So you don't want to stick in one spot. You want to sort of like cross this back and forth. And we're going to be doing a lot of different layers on this. And you'll notice that you know, further down here on the table, we're creating a wall of you know, the cobweb. It's okay, leave that. When we rotate this on the tube, we can just sort of lay this sheet of cobweb down on the wire frame and actually utilize it. So don't worry about knocking that off for now. Leave it, and we're gonna just we're gonna do whatever we can to save that here in a second. Okay, so we're about halfway through. So slow and steady. Once you get the basic structure all the way around, just sort of a skim coat, it'll go much faster. You can actually see the thread coming out, so you can direct this a little bit. If there's a little bald spot or a hole, you can sort of work it back and forth. You can actually see the thread coming out of the hot glue gun. And so other than that, I'm just going back and forth and sort of creating as much of a structure, some circles, some crossing pieces. It will stick and melt to the other hot glue, sort of encapsulate some of the wire. That is basically it, just more of the same. this is a pretty good stopping point. I mean, let me turn this off for a sec. So we could keep going and building up this as thick as possible. There probably is not really any need for that. This is pretty good. It's going to transmit light well. It's solid on the inside. I want to talk about the gun again. If you're setting this up, there is a definite like Goldilocks zone of the space in between the end of the brass or the copper pipe and the tip of the glue gun. I got this thing set to a really good position where it was like spraying out. I stopped and I actually hot glued this pipe so that it would stop moving on me. The zip ties are great, but it allowed it to sort of shift back and forth a little bit. That just solidified the position of the pipe and just made this string coming out super consistent. One of the other things that I realized is that this particular glue gun has like a high-low switch. It's basically the hotter the glue is and the larger volume, this is going to go much faster. So this works totally fine. It just took a little bit longer than I was expecting. So, but that's it. The exterior texture, in some cases, you can see it's unimportant. You can tell that in areas it's a little bit chunky, but theoretically, you're never going to see the outside of this. It's all about the inside. And so those first slow layers where you're just laying down really delicate spider web or the hot glue strands will create the inside layer. After that, you can build this up. It doesn't matter how chunky or horrible the outside looks. It's all about the inside of the tunnel. The other thing that we did on the movie, the color that you see in the tunnel, it's all light. Basically, this thing stays relatively translucent and white. And so if you have a large colored light on the outside of it, that will influence the entire look of this tunnel. So the tunnel on Coraline was left basically white hot glue with just a little bit of black spray paint just as sort of to fake the shadows. Oh, something interesting too. You can see here, you know, when we coiled the wire, you can see the wire here. If you look at the original tunnel on Coraline, you can see the wire. It's hard to, you don't understand what you're looking at, but you see the wire and these hard lines in the movie. So we just left it as is. So basically, that's it. This is more or less exactly what we did for the original tunnel. Good luck with your tunnel projects. And if there's anything else from the model shop that you're curious about or you want to see next, leave a note in the comments. Thanks.